We are heading south from the Kansas Flint Hills bound for Bartlesville, Oklahoma. En route, we visited the Nature Conservancy's Joseph Williams Tallgrass Prairie Preserve, which at 40,000 acres is 4 times the size of the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve in Kansas, with lots of wide open vistas and a large herd of bison. Then it was a brief stop in Pawhuska, Oklahoma to stick our noses into the Pioneer Woman's Mercantile, which might be familiar to anyone who knows the Food Network show The Pioneer Woman. Pawhuska is also the seat of the Osage Indian Nation and the locale for a chilling, little-known story about murder, oil, and the FBI that took place in the early 20th century. This story is recounted in David Gann's book, Killers of the Flower Moon, which is being adapted for the big screen with these 2 guys in the leading roles. Finally, we rolled into Bartlesville, the longtime home of the Phillips Petroleum Company starting in 1905, when this was still part of the Indian Territory. Oklahoma did not become a state until 1907. Phillips still maintains some operations in Bartlesville, though corporate headquarters are now in Houston. Bartlesville's other claim to fame is the Price Tower, a skyscraper designed in 1929 by Frank Lloyd Wright and originally intended for downtown New York. Wright was able to convince Harold Price, the owner of a pipeline construction company, to use the design for the company's headquarters in Bartlesville. Delighted to be able to proceed with the design in Oklahoma, Wright called the building the tree that escaped the crowded forest. That is, the crowded forest of Manhattan skyscrapers. Here on the plains of eastern Oklahoma, the building was, in Wright's words, able to cast its own shadow upon its own piece of land. The tower was completed in 1956, and the building housed not only the offices of Price's company, but also retail and residential spaces. In keeping with the original intent that the building should be partly residential, the Inn at Price Tower has operated as a hotel, providing lodging and meals for guests since 2003. We are staying tonight in the Price Tower, a skyscraper in Oklahoma, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. So they have these beautiful rooms. Look at this. It's like somebody invited you to stay at Taliesin, and here we are. The furnishing of the tower was also part of Wright's commission, so the decorative artwork, furniture, and textiles in the building were also designed by Wright. This cloisonné mural entitled Willows and Reflections was designed and installed as part of a 1979 remodeling by Taliesin Associated Architects, very much in the style of Wright. We grabbed a quick bite to eat at Dink's Pit Barbecue before heading toward Bentonville, Arkansas, and the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art. Crystal Bridges was founded in 2005 by Alice Walton, daughter of Walmart founder Sam Walton. The buildings of the museum were designed by Moshe Safdie, who designed Habitat 67 at Montreal's 1967 World Expo, as well as the Marina Bay Sands development in Singapore. Google those if you're not familiar with them. Construction on Crystal Bridges began in 2006, and 3 years before opening to the public in November of 2011, the museum's art acquisitions had reached $223 million. The museum's collections are astounding. Some art historians rank Crystal Bridges among the top half-dozen art museums in the U.S. And I love Crystal Bridges because it is accessible to everyone. There is no general admission fee thanks to sponsorship from Walmart, and consequently, people from all walks of life fill the galleries of the museum, and to see that is a joy. Here's a sampling of the artworks that struck a chord for me. A portrait of George Washington by Charles Willson Peale, circa 1780. Having worked at the Charles Willson Peale Portrait Gallery in the Second Bank of the United States in Philadelphia, seeing General Washington at Crystal Bridges was a delight. Robert Louis Stevenson and His Wife by John Singer Sargent, 1885. Of the painting, Stevenson wrote, "It is, I think, excellent, but is too eccentric to be exhibited. I am at one extreme corner, my wife in this wild dress and looking like a ghost is at the extreme other end. All this with that witty touch of Sargent's, but of course it looks damn queer as a whole. And of course 19th century American landscape paintings, which I love. The Shores of Lake Superior, 1866 by Thomas Moran, better known for his paintings of Yellowstone, which helped inspire the establishment of Yellowstone National Park in 1872. Frederick Edwin Church, Home by the Lake, 1852. Louis Mignot, Travelers in a Tropical Landscape, 1861. Mignot traveled to Ecuador in the company of Frederick Edwin Church in 1857. Both artists were inspired by the landscapes of Ecuador's Andes, and Mignot's painting reminds me of Church's better-known Cotopaxi. Kindred Spirits, 1849, by Asher B. Durand of the Hudson River School, acquired from the New York Public Library for more than $35 million. Gregory, 1946, by Japanese-American sculptor Isamu Noguchi. Georgia O'Keeffe, Small Purple Hills, 1934, and Feather and Brown Leaf, 1935. Child Hassam, Regatta, 1885, inspired by his many visits to the Charles River in Massachusetts. His unusual composition places the viewer among the spectators in the foreground. Thomas Hart Benton, Tobacco Sorters, 1944. The artist's great-uncle was Senator Thomas Hart Benton of Missouri, one of the first two senators elected from that state. The town of Bentonville, home of Crystal Bridges, was named for the senator's family. Maya Lin's Silver Upper White River, 2015, a depiction of the White River in Arkansas and Missouri. The artist was inspired by the sight of the river as she was flying into the Northwest Arkansas airport. Reminds me of a Chinese dragon. And a sampling of the museum's outdoor installations. Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama's Narcissus Garden. The Bachmann Wilson House, a Frank Lloyd Wright Usonian house originally built in New Jersey and moved to Crystal Bridges. And works by glass artist Dale Chihuly, including floats, turquoise reeds and Ozark Fiori, azure icicle chandelier, Fiori boat, and Soledoro, son of gold. Here also is one of James Turrell's sky spaces. Amy was adamant about sitting through the slowly changing illumination of the sky space at sunset, which required a time commitment of about an hour and a half. I didn't want to miss dinner. Restaurants closed rather early in Bentonville, but resigned myself to skip a meal for a complete sky space experience. We sat within the sculpture looking up at the sky through an aperture and watched the light change as the sky went dark. It was mesmerizing, and missing dinner seemed a fair price for it. But Amy, being Amy, was able to track down a place that was still serving great mushroom pizza and Homewrecker IPA from Arkansas. We both went to sleep happy.